I'm really lucky to be here because I can play hardcore country music or I can play rock and roll. It doesn't really matter because there's people coming here to record all the time. And it's a very rich musical community that people help each other out and they support each other here, which is not something I've found in other musical centers.
Well, over the years I've been working in Nashville, gosh, 30-some years it seems like. I moved here in '75 and went to Belmont College for a couple of years, but I just really wanted to get out in the studios and start work, and so I got a job in a little tourist studio. It kind of led to another studio, and you know, like some of the earliest stuff that I worked with was like Dr. Hook and Helen Reddy and that sort of thing. But I got discovered by producer Jimmy Bowen in Nashville, who was at the time producing about 70% of all the hit records in country radio, and I was kind of the hot new rock and roller dude in town, and he wanted something different. You know, he'd moved here from LA, and he wanted to change the face of country music, so he stuck me with the likes of like Conway Twitty and Brenda Lee and Loretta Lynn, Reba McEntire, George Strait, and you know, tons of like just historic great artists that, you know, it was just like such a thrill for me to get to be making records with these people. And then I met Tony Brown, who I continue to do a lot of work with and we started out, I think the first thing we did together was Steve Earle, who kind of like changed the landscape of country music. It was quite a, you know, everything changed when Steve Earle came on the scene.
I started out here in Nashville playing with Dottie West, actually. You know, I was in a band with her son, and she loved to have us on the road. I don't think Morris really cared much for it, but I loved it because I was playing the Grand Ole Opry before it moved to Opryland back in the early '70s. So I got to hang out with Porter Wagoner, and I got to hang out with Dolly Parton back in those days, and people like that. Also, she used to have parties, and at her house, people like Rita Coolidge and Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson and Jimmy Dickens all used to come over to her house.
It was like a really great time in Nashville. There was all this cool stuff going on. Lyle Lovett and Nancy Griffith and, you know, Steve Earle, and that kind of caught the attention of Mark Knopfler, the guitar player from Dire Straits. He came to town. He was just thinking, wow, this is really cool. There's some great music going on in Nashville, and got hooked up with Chet Atkins. They did that Neck to Neck album. I wasn't involved on that, but because of him coming to Nashville, when he started up doing the last Dire Straits album, he asked me to come along and make that record with him. And so I got hooked up with Mark, and ever since then we've been doing his solo albums together. I think we're on our maybe 6th or 7th solo album, several movies, soundtracks and stuff. And so that's, you know, I mean, it's great for me. I get to produce and engineer all those records where it's quite a different thing from the Nashville thing.
And what happened for me was I call it a lightning moment, because I was sitting at home waiting for, you know, just trying to figure out what am I going to do with my career? How am I going to progress? And I got a call from a friend of mine who was on the road with America at the time. They were on a comeback tour with Tin Man Was Number 2, and their drummer had an accident, and an unfortunate accident. He couldn't play the rest of the tour, and they had about a month to go. This person was working for the sound company that was from Nashville, and they were looking for somebody to finish the gig, and they were scrambling. They had a day off and one day to find somebody. So he recommended me, and he said, you might get a call. So I'm sitting there, and about an hour later, I get a call from their road manager who said, you know, we've heard about you. We'd like to meet you. What are you doing? So I said, well, I think I can meet you. Where are you going to be? And they were going to be in Muscle Shoals the next night. So I went around town trying to find America Records because they couldn't find anybody from LA to cut the gig. I was the only guy available, and I was so lucky and blessed with that. So I went around town trying to find America Records to bone up on what I might be playing. I knew a few hits, but I had no idea of their whole catalog. So I wasn't able to find a whole lot, but luckily they had taped the show about 3 nights before. I met them in Muscle Shoals around 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they got there. I had a long, extended hour-and-a-half sound check with them and played the show that night, all in a period of 24 hours. And I finished out the tour and everything went great, and that led me out to California eventually, because that one moment where I kind of came in and did my thing and was ready. And that's the thing I have to stress with players. You have to have a desire, and you have to have a passion. Desire gets you to the next level if you work at it, but you have to be ready. You don't know when that moment's going to come, but there's going to be a time that you're going to be called on to play and perform and to do the best you can. And if you're ready for that, it will propel you to the next thing, and that's how this thing works. It's you're networking with people. You're always at your best when you're with people, and then when you get a moment to get up on stage, then you will be ready, and that's the moment you're looking for, and that's what happened to me.
Yeah. And then in the compressor, though, I mean, like, that's just kind of light, easygoing compression, but I mean, you can really go for it if you want. And it actually goes like, we were messing with this, it's got this over thing where you can just go completely nuts.
That is great.
Isn't that crazy?
That is great.
It's really, 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 really
I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun, man. I'm going to replace all the drums I ever recorded. I guess I'm going to have to go back and remix all those records.
I guess so. I met up with a producer, Tony Brown, and Steve Earle. And actually, in this room that we were doing this interview in, I recorded Guitar Town with the drums that are on the Toontrack Superior product that I just did. Right where I'm sitting. I was right here with those drums. So, recorded Guitar Town here, which was really a groundbreaking album in the mid-'80s. And also recorded Lyle Lovett's Pontiac in this room with those drums. It's a custom-made kit made by a friend of mine, Gary Grimm. He used to work at Valley Arts in L.A. He built the drums out of AIM shells, which are North American birch, and fitted them with whatever hardware I wanted. But with those shells, Gary's got away with sizes. They're small sizes, a 10, 12, and a 14, but the depth of them make them sound a lot bigger than they are. So I've used those drums since 1985. They're great drums, and they work for just about anything you want to use them for. There's also a little Slingerland kit on this version, which is actually the first set I ever bought in 1968. It's a Slingerland kit with a 20-inch bass drum, 12-inch tom, and a 14x14 floor. And I love those drums. They really speak in a whole different way. They're a lot more vintage sounding.
I suppose there is a Chuck Ainlay sound, but I always try to listen to the song, try and find some